Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to build a chatbot prototype using DeepSeek, and we're going to learn how to use their API. And if you already know how to use the OpenAI API client, it's going to be super easy because we can use the same one for DeepSeek. So let's get started on building a new prototype using the DeepSeek API. All right, so before we get started, we need to make sure we have the appropriate tools installed in our computer. So make sure you have Python installed. You can download it from python.org if you don't have it installed in your computer. You can also install Visual Studio Code, and you can go to code.visualstudio.com to download it for free, or you can use any IDE that you prefer. Also, we're going to be using the Streamlit package in order to build a UI, and then we're going to jump into the DeepSeek platform to get our API key so we can get started. So let's go and create a new folder for a project. Let me move this to the side, and somewhere in your computer you're going to create a new folder. So I'm just going to create in my desktop here. I'm gonna name this one DeepSeek Chatbot, and I'm going to open this with Visual Studio Code. And let me move that window over to this one here. Cool. So in here, let's create a new requirements.txt file. Requirements.txt. And inside of the requirements.txt, we're just going to name the two dependencies that we need. And for this one, we're just going to need Streamlit for the UI, and we're gonna need OpenAI for talking to the API from DeepSeek. Also in here, we're going to create a app.py file. And now let's make sure we create a virtual environment so we can have all the dependencies that we listed here installed in a virtual environment. So you can search for, let's just press Control Shift P so we can bring up this palette, or you can go to View and Command Palette here, Control Shift P, and search for Python Create Environment. You can search it here. It's listed here for me because I used it before. Let's click there and click on the first one there, VENV. We're gonna pick the latest Python version that we have. And then we're going to select this requirements.txt, which is this file here. And that is going to create the virtual environment and install all the dependencies that we're going to need. So let's give this a minute or two, and then we'll continue with the next step. In the meantime, if I forgot to mention this before, you can look for, if you don't have this extension in Visual Studio Code, is called Python. It's just a Python extension, so you can have all the latest tools that we need for a project. So you can search for Python here, and it should be the Python Microsoft. This one here. You should have this one installed if you're using Visual Studio Code. So we can have all the formatter and all the other tools that are going to make our development time much simpler. So let me close that up, go back to the file explorer, and this still creating the environment. So let me pause the video and continue when it's done. All right, so now that the virtual environment is created, let's go into our app.py and let's import Streamlit as st. And let's do a little title here. So st.title, and we're gonna say chat DeepSeek in here. And then we're going to test this out. Let's open a new terminal here. And let's run the server. Down here, we're going to type Streamlit. Run, and then app.py. This is going to start the development server and hopefully just open in this here somewhere. We put this side by side so we can see it. This gave me an error. Streamlit run. What's going on with my terminal? At the py. There you go. All right, so we got the application running now. We can see our title here. Let's go, and if you want to add a couple of emojis, you can go to emojipedia.org. I'm gonna copy the well here. I'm gonna put it down here, right next to the title, like so. And once you save the file again, at the top right, there should be a button that says always rerun. So you can just refresh the application for you, and we don't have to do it every single time. Now let's do a subheader st.subheader, and here we can say DeepSeek Chatbot prototype, or whatever you like to put in there. Move. Cool. And then let's put a comma, let's say divider, and then say string blue. So we can put a little line matching the DeepSeek color. Also going to grab from emojipedia.org this little bot in here. So we can go right next to the subheader. All right, there we go. So that looks fine. Let's go down here, and we're also going to, let's do a little sidebar of the application so we can have the parameters that we're going to add to the app. So we're just gonna do probably the temperature. So let's do sidebar here, or sidebar UI, and let's do st-sidebar. And then we're gonna do a dash slider. So we can show a slider that is going to say temperature. And the values that we want is to start from 0.0, and it can go all the way to 0.1. And the default value, we're going to set it at, let's do 0.5. So we can set it right in the middle. So now we have this sidebar here. Let me hide this for now so we can get more space. So we have the sidebar for the temperature here. Cool. And then let's go, and inside of the sidebar, we're gonna do, or let's just do, let's see, let's have some, let's store the value in a variable called temp for temperature. And let's just do a little bit of text in here. Let's do st.sidebar. So we can add something else to the sidebar, that markdown. So we can just use the markdown function to write an H. Whoops. Let's do an H2 of parameters in here. So we have that here. And then let's also do a little divider there. So we're gonna copy that down, and instead of markdown, we're just gonna say, let's delete all this, and let's do dot divider. Cool. All right, so we got the value inside, the temperature value inside of this variable here, which we can use to send it off to DeepSeek with our prompt when we set up the client. So speaking of client, let's import the OpenAI. So let's say from OpenAI, we're going to import OpenAI. And let's initialize our API client here. So let's say API client. Let's say client equals OpenAI. And in here, we're going to need to pass the API key, and we need to set up the base URL. So if we go to the DeepSeek documentation here at api-docs.deepseek.com, to make our first call, we need to set up the base URL to this base URL here. So we're going to go, and in here, we're going to say base underscore URL, and we're going to pass this value here. And then what we're missing is the API key, which we're going to pass as the second value here. So to get the API key, we're going to go into the platform.deepseek.com. So you can go and sign up or log in with your Google account or your email, however you want to create your account. And then we're going to go into the platform here. You can look at the pricing that they have, the pricing information here. And we know they're pretty cheap. You can set up the billing, or you can use PayPal to kind of like set up your billing in there. And then you're going to get your API key. So once you go here, you can create a new API key. And we're going to copy that, and we're going to bring it to a new file that we're going to create. So here, let's create a new folder, .streamlit. And in here, we're going to create a new file called .secrets. Secrets.toml. There you go. And then we're gonna need a API, a key name of, let's do DeepSeek underscore API underscore key equals, and then you're gonna paste that API key from here. You're gonna paste it right here, and just put quotes and paste it in here. Right, so make sure this is spelled the same way, DeepSeek underscore API underscore key. Paste it in here, and you should be good after you're saving your file. So I'm going to do that now. I'm just going to post the video real quick. All right, so now my API key is set up in there. Now we are ready to come back to our app. And here we're going to say API API key is going to be equals to, we're going to do st.secrets, so that file that we just created, and then dot, and in all uppercase DeepSeek underscore API underscore key, and that should do it. So let's say what we got here. Secrets has no attribute called DeepSeek API key. Let me make sure we spelled this correctly. DeepSeek in here. Double check the name to see if there's anything wrong. Okay, let's double check everything again. Should be good. We're gonna continue to see if everything is good, because that error could be from before. So I think we should be good. We just got to be sure the name is the same. So if your billing is set up, you should be ready to make any API calls. So after you check the pricing and you set up your API key, you can scroll down and see some of the examples here for the API, but we're going to do this together anyway so we can just continue with the application here. So I'm getting a non-secrets found, valid path for secrets. Let's see, refresh it. And it says no secrets found. So it looks like I might have DeepSeek API key. Did you forget to add it to the secrets? That's a file. Let me double check again. Do we, oh, I think we don't need this dot here. I think I put too many dots. The dot is just for the folder. So let's see, save it now. Give it a quick refresh. There we go. That's my bad. Put a dot on the file, so it's only on the folder. So make sure the folder is .streamlit and secrets.toml with no dot in the front. All right, cool. So now we know that works. So let's continue, and we're going to create a dictionary inside of the session state for our application, so we can store all the different messages that we're going to be sending and receiving. So we're going to create a chat history dictionary. So we're going to check if chat underscore history is not let's do is not or not in, let's just do not in st.session state. That's the state object for our application. So if it's not there, then we want to make sure we create it. So st.session state and then .chat underscore history. We're going to set that to an empty list where we're going to keep all the different messages from the user and the model. So I'm going to click on always rerun here at the top again. And then we're going to continue down here. So with Streamlit, we use already the st.title and st subheader to create some of the UI, to create the sidebar here. And now we're going to use their chat elements. Where are they? Navigation, caching, text element, charts, media, layout, chat elements right here. So they have like a chat input, chat message, status container, and the st.write string, which we can use in order to build the chatbot. So we're going to use this in here. So let's go and start with, let's say down here, let's set up a variable here. So we're going to say if prompt, and then we're going to create that from, and we're going to say st.chat input. So chat input is going to give us the input. Okay, so let's go and go in here, and let's just do a pass for now, just so we can see it. So we got the chat input down here, right? And we're going to render all the different messages inside of the space here, in here. So cool. Let's go in here, and whenever the user types something in here, we're going to store the text inside of this variable here. So if there's a new input on this chat input, we're going to grab the data there, and we're going to we want to store it inside of this chat history list that we created. So we're going to, let's put a try in here, and then we're going to do in here accept, and then let's see if we have, yeah, let's just do it now. Exception, just to handle the errors in here. We can just set that up for now. And we're going to say, if we get any errors in here, we're going to say print error. And we're going to pass the error here. So let's go inside of the try again. And what we're going to do here, we're going to first append the prompt to the chat history. So we're going to do a st.session state.chat_history, because in here we know it exists, that append, and we're going to append a dictionary with two properties. We need to say the row, so who this is. So the row will be the user. This is a message from the user. And then we're going to set a content property here. And then we're going to say that the content is the prompt that the user provided in here. Now we're going to show the message right away. So in here, we want to display the user's prompt or message. And we're going to render that inside of a chat input or a chat message from Streamlit. So we're going to say with st.chat message. We got the chat input, we got this chat message here, and we can pass the row for here for Streamlit. So we're going to say that this is a user message that we want to display so we can get the right icon for this chat message. And then we're going to use st.markdown so we can display the prompt. Cool. So now if we type something here, let's say hello, we get the hello here, and we get this user icon in there for us to see it. So right now we're just going to display the prompt right away, and then the next step will be to we're going to create a placeholder for the message from the model. So here we're going to display the LLM message, and we're going to repeat this line 38. So we're going to say with st.chat message, and this time is going to be a system message, and we're going to do the st. So here we want to create a placeholder because we don't have the response right away. So we need to make the API call. When we get the response, we want to fill in a placeholder that we're going to create here with the actual response. So we're going to put a placeholder for the LLM response. So here we're just going to say placeholder. And we're going to set that to a st.empty container. So it's just an empty container that we can fill in, but it's going to be inside of in a system message. So we're going to see the icon, and then we can fill in the text. So we're actually going to stream it, so it's going to look just like the ChatGPT website or the chatbot. So now here we're ready to make the API call. So we're going to say chat completion is going to be equals to calling the client. So we're going to make the API call. We're going to use the client and that chat.completions. And then we're going to use the .create method here. And we're going to hit enter in here. So here we need to pass the model we want to use, right? And we're going to use the DeepSeek. So DeepSeek -chat, and you can look into the documentation and see which models they have available. So here you can see they have the DeepSeek chat, so that's exactly the one we're sending. And then the next step will be to pass the messages that we want to send to the model. So here we want to send a list of messages, just like they're doing here. And we're going to set a system message, so we can set the persona of the model. So we're going to say row is going to be set to a system, which is the system message. And then we're going to do the content. And we're going to say the same here. You are a helpful assistant in here. And then we want to append, so we're going to do plus, and then we're going to append our chat history, so we can pass all the other messages that we have if we want to keep the chat history, so that way the model give us knows the whole entire context. So we're going to do st.session state. Come on. Let's see. st. Come on. That session underscore state. Come on. Why is not giving me this? That and then chat history. Chat underscore history. Let me see, there's something wrong here. Oh, I didn't wrap this in a curly bracket, so that's why it's complaining. It's like, okay, there's something wrong here. There we go. Now everything is highlighted correctly. So we got the model, and then we got the messages, which is a list. And the initial message, we want to insert it here. So we can just append the rest of the chat history to this new list, and we can send the entire chat history with the system message in here. So now we also want to set here the stream option, and we're going to set that to true. We want the streaming, and we're going to send the temperature, and we're going to set it to the temp variable that we have up here from the slider. Where did it go? Right here. So now that's everything we need here. So we have the model, DeepSeek, we have our messages, we have string set to true, and then we got the temperature value in here. So now we are good. Let's go back to the app, see if we got any errors in here. We're doing good so far. So when we type something now, it's going to add it to our chat history. It's going to render the message right away. It's going to show the empty assistant message, and then we're going to reach out to the model, to DeepSeek here, and we want to now grab the response, and we want to add it to the placeholder text, right? So we want to add it to this here. So we want to write something to this placeholder. So down here, we want to create a variable to hold a string. So full underscore response is going to be an empty string to start with. Here we're going to hold the whole entire message, but we're going to concatenate it because it's going to be streamed in chunks of text. So we're going to get chunks of text. We're going to say for chunk in chat completion. So we're going to grab each chunk, and then we're going to append it to this full response, right? So we're going to say full response plus equals, and then chunk, and then we can access the dot choices, and then square bracket 0, and then dot delta dot content, or an empty string if we get like an empty space or something like that from the model. So once we append the chunks to this variable here, we're going to now display this into our placeholder. So we're going to say, let's see, full response. We add in this here. Yeah. So now we can do placeholder and then that write, and then we can pass the full response, which is the concatenation of each chunk of text that we get back from the model. All right, once we have that, we just want to, outside of the for loop in here, or the for in loop, we want to do the state.session state.chat history, and we want to append the new message in there. So we're gonna do chat history.append, and then we're gonna pass a dictionary with, again, the row. This time is gonna be set to assistant. And then we're gonna do assistant in here. And then we're gonna do the content. Content. And we're gonna set that to the full response. All right, so basically we are almost done. So right now we have everything we need. After we grab a chunk and concatenate it into the full response, we show it into, or we write it into the placeholder. So it's gonna be filling that in, and then we append it to the chat history, so we don't lose that when the app refreshes. So we're keeping that in the section state. So now let's start talking to DeepSeek in here. So we're gonna say, what's up, DeepSeek, send a message. We show the display, we see our message now, and then we see the placeholder being filled in, or we stream the message that we get from the model. It would say, hello, I'm just here, ready to help you with whatever you need. What's up with you? Okay, cool. All right, we got a cool model in here. So now if we send another message, let's say I need help writing a haiku, and I'm just gonna send that. Right now, we just kind of like losing the previous messages we have in here in the UI. We still have it in the history, right? Because we are pending it to the chat history. So we still have it here, but every time we add a new prompt, we display just the two newest messages in here. So what we're gonna do, we're going to make sure we render everything right after we go here. We're gonna render all the messages we have in the chat history. And we're only going to do that if we already have messages in there. So let's go and let's put it inside of a function, just in case later you want to call this from somewhere else in the app. So let's call this function render chat underscore history underscore messages in here. Long name, but you can make it shorter if you want. So we can print the st.session state.chat underscore history if we need to see that here, right? And then we only want to render this if we have some messages in there, at least one message. So we're gonna say if the length of the st.session state.chat history is greater than 0, then we want to loop over the chat history and render each message. So we're gonna say for message in st.session.chat history. We're gonna do a with statement here. So we're gonna do with st.chat message, and we want to just grab the message, and here we're gonna grab the message row, right? because each message that we store is going to have the row, right? And then the content. So we want to grab the row, so whatever is either user or assistant. And then inside we want to do a SD. We're going to use the .write function too in order to say message, and then square brackets. So we want to grab the content in here. Cool. So let's give the app a refresh here. We see our temperature here halfway, and then we can say, hey, let's see what we got back. It says, hey, how can I assist you today? Good. Let's say, I need help with, let's say, writing a Python script that prints hello world. Let's see if we, just to test that we see the whole chat in there. So, oh, I forgot to call the function. So it's still not working. All right, it's streaming the message. So, but we see that I forgot to call the function. I thought I did just a for loop here, but I decided to put inside of a function. But then I forgot to call the function. Beautiful. So let's call the function here. Save it. Let's refresh this again. In here, let's say, what's up? In here. Not much. Just here to help you with, okay, let's say, okay, I need you to write a Python script that prints hello world, and let's send it. There you go. All right, now we got the other message in there because when we send a new prompt, the app refreshes and then it's going to see this function code and it's going to see if we already have messages in there, then it's going to loop over those messages and render all the different messages in here. And now we can see the previous messages, the new messages, and then the response in here. So you can play around with the temperature now, and then you can say, write a, let's say, short story about a programming robot, and then write a short story about a programming robot. Let's send it. Now the temperature is all the way up to 1, so it could be interesting, it could be something funny, it could be whatever the model decides to write. So now we got a short story coming and is being streamed. So I just wanted to write something long so we can see the streaming happening and all the text in there. All right, so I'm not gonna read the whole entire story, but as you can see, it finished writing the story. Now you can, in here in the parameters, you can add any other parameters that you want. For example, the tab P, tab K, whatever the model can accept, you can pass it in there. JSON mode, you can take all of that and you can look into that in my previous videos, or you can look into the documentation too to see what other options you have in here. So now our chatbot is already done. You can deploy this. On the top right, it says deploy. You can sign in for free and deploy your app, and you can share it. You can show it to your employers, your friends, your family. And also the deployment is free. You just have to remember to put your API key when you're deploying, so that way you don't get any errors. And you go from here. Now you can challenge yourself to make some changes, create some new features from even previous videos, or dive into the documentation to see what else you can implement. But basically, we have set up a simple chatbot prototype using DeepSeek that now is functional and you can share when you deploy the application. So I hope you like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.